Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're unpacking the major news stories from Monday, August 3, 2026. It was literally a jam-packed day, and we're going to explore how these seemingly disconnected events, from high-stakes international diplomacy to our own domestic infrastructure, actually impact your world. I love breaking down days like this because it shows just how interconnected our global and local systems truly are. So, let's jump right in.
Okay, here's our agenda for today's macro to micro journey. We're looking at the U.S.-Iran diplomacy shift, Wall Street's record rally, averting a government shutdown, water infrastructure cyber attacks, and the Idaho shooting investigation, before wrapping up with a look ahead.
Section 1, U.S.-Iran diplomacy shift. We're beginning at the global level with a massive pivot in the Middle East. So, over the weekend, President Trump announced his administration is actually postponing planned military strikes. Why? Well, they're pursuing renewed diplomatic efforts with Iran instead. The administration has a few clear goals here. They're aiming to reduce overarching regional tensions and seeking to address the ongoing concerns surrounding Iran's nuclear program. This is a pretty distinct shift in strategy, you know? They're clearly prioritizing the diplomatic table over immediate military escalation right now.
Now, a key goal of these talks, and honestly a huge reason why global markets are watching this like a hawk, is reopening the Strait of Hormuz to commercial shipping. If you're wondering why that matters, well, this waterway is one of the world's most vital oil shipping routes. Its stability directly dictates global energy prices. It is absolutely critical to the health of both the U.S. and global economies.
But check out the stark contrast in public messaging here. While the U.S. is calling these direct negotiations, Iranian officials have publicly disputed that exact phrase. It really highlights the fragile uncertainty of this whole diplomatic effort. It's a delicate dance, right? Both sides are clearly managing their domestic optics while trying to navigate the actual geopolitical crisis on the ground.
Moving on to Section 2, Wall Street's record rally. Let's pivot from global diplomacy right to your wallet. You see, the reduced risk of a wider regional conflict calmed energy markets way down. As oil prices dropped, we saw lower inflation concerns across the board, which just fueled a massive equity rally. And while the S&P 500 moved within striking distance of its all-time record, notice how the real winners were energy-sensitive sectors. Airline stocks in particular absolutely led the advance. I mean, they thrive on the prospect of lower fuel costs. Plus, Treasury yields also eased up in response to this sudden wave of economic optimism. The crucial takeaway here is that this optimism wasn't just some minor bump. It literally pushed the Dow Jones Industrial Average to a historic all-time record-closing high on Monday. The Nasdaq also posted strong gains. It's really a textbook example of how quickly geopolitical de-escalation can translate into tangible, real-world financial momentum. All right, Section 3, averting a government shutdown. Let's leave Wall Street behind and head over to Washington. So, the Senate overwhelmingly advanced a continuing resolution designed to keep the federal government funded. Think of this August procedural vote as a bridge. It basically buys lawmakers the autumn months to negotiate longer-term appropriations legislation, effectively keeping the lights on until December, which is when this continuing resolution finally expires. What's fascinating is that this perfectly illustrates a bipartisan willingness to keep the government open and just avoid a lapse in federal funding altogether. And what makes this so remarkable is that this agreement is happening right alongside some incredibly fierce, politically charged debates over tariffs, executive actions, and intense administration scrutiny. Yet, despite those major disagreements, both parties actually came together to dodge a disruptive government shutdown this year. This brings us to Section 4, Water Infrastructure Cyber Attacks. While federal funding is secure for now, our focus shifts to defending our critical state infrastructure. Federal officials are actively investigating a pretty serious string of cyber attacks. Unauthorized actors have actually targeted the internet-connected operational systems of water and wastewater utilities across multiple states. And Minnesota, well, they've been hit particularly hard in this wave, with numerous facilities compromised. Now, it's a huge relief that officials are reporting absolutely no drinking water contamination, but some communities did experience operational disruptions and even had to issue precautionary advisories. This is a big deal because it exposes very real vulnerabilities in the daily utilities we totally take for granted. In response, cybersecurity experts and federal agencies are basically pleading with utilities to implement protective measures right now. Strengthen cybersecurity practices, improve protections, and, I find this part super interesting, increase manual operational capabilities.
Basically, making sure that if the internet goes down, the water still keeps flowing.
Section 5, Idaho Shooting Investigation. Finally, we're looking at how security concerns drill all the way down to the community level.
We're respectfully monitoring an investigation into a devastating shooting that happened outside an In-N-Out Burger in Twin Falls, Idaho. This incident tragically claimed 3 lives and left several other victims hospitalized. It has absolutely shocked the local community and, as you'd expect, renewed some very intense discussions around public safety and emergency response capabilities.
Authorities are currently reconstructing the exact sequence of events and are actively appealing to the public for witness statements or video evidence. What we do know right now is that officials believe the suspect acted alone. The violence ended when the gunman was confronted by an armed off-duty state trooper and a civilian. After that, the suspect died from an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound. As of now, investigators haven't yet established a motive for this terrible crime. All right, Section 6, looking ahead. From international waters to a local parking lot, it has been a dense news cycle. So as we look at the week ahead, here are the key threads we need to monitor. First up, we need to see if the U.S. and Iran can produce measurable diplomatic progress to stabilize the Strait of Hormuz. Second, we're keeping an eye on a busy week of corporate earnings and economic data to see if that market optimism actually holds. Third, we got to follow Congress's ongoing federal funding negotiations. And lastly, we're awaiting more data from federal agencies regarding the full scope of those cyber attacks on our water infrastructure.
I'll leave you with this thought to consider. We've seen how global tensions easing can directly boost our local markets, and how digital threats can target our very real, physical water supplies. As these interconnected events continue to unfold, which of these stories do you think will ultimately have the biggest, most lasting impact on our daily lives this year? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer today. Keep questioning and keep learning.